Are you an event planner and you looking for a way to streamline your vendor list and process? Today, I'm going to share with you how to go about creating your event vendor list for your company. For those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Jessie. I am a corporate event planner or event manager. I have been doing it for over 14 years. I love sharing content on this page that helps other event industry business owners with learning tips and tools to be able to scale your business and get organized along the way. Before we jump into the video, take a moment to like and subscribe this video if you want to hear more content that's going to help you with growing your event industry business. One of the key factors that has helped with growing my event business is the fact that I've been able to curate great relationships within my vendor list and partnerships. So I want to be able to share with you what are some of the tips that have helped me with having a list of over 20 vendors in different cities and states that are able to grow all together and having reliable connections. The first thing that I would recommend is starting to look for finding reliable partners. That sometimes can be the most challenging part about creating a vendor list. I believe that by having reliable vendors, that makes it easier for both you and that vendor to grow. If you have people that are not in integrity or professional, that doesn't look always bad on them. It looks like a bad reflection of our ability to choose good vendors. So one of the things I do recommend for you is to have a standard for vendors in which you're looking to partner with, and making sure that this standard helps you with understanding, is this person a good fit for our company or not? I know inside of my business, there are certain things that I tend to run away from when I see that someone does something inside their own business. Some things that you may want to consider is, do they have specific certifications? What locations in which they service? You want to be able to also make sure that they have great partnerships and reviews with other people that they have worked with, because you don't want to work with someone that has had negative reviews from other event planners. So you always want to just look for certain types of things that are going to be key indicators. I definitely try to find people that I know that are very responsive. They come off as if they're very organized. And believe me, people will give you hints before you even start working with them if they are that. And maybe being organized isn't something that's important for you. However, is it highly, highly important for a vendor that I work with. So just create a list of what are some of the key things that you're looking for when you're trying to find the right vendor. Once you do find those vendors, what I do recommend for you to do is to have a solid onboarding process. I did a training several weeks ago that was helping other event planners and organizers with learning how to use Honeybook to create a event management system. So I think that it's important for us to be able to have a structured process when we're bringing on vendors. This is important because you want to make sure that you're having everyone sign the same documents. So if you're someone that needs to make sure that you have a non-compete or a non-disclosure, maybe you have, for me, like inside of my company, I have a contract about arrival as well as dress codes and professionalism, and everyone gets the same template with contracts that they sign. If someone isn't willing to sign those, or if they're not willing to give you a W-9, that to me is a red flag, because I have to report when I'm paying people over $600 because of my business. So I don't want to work with someone that isn't going to try to run their business legitimately. And I find that when they aren't, usually things happen. So for me, that's a red flag, and it's always going to be something I'm not going to go forward with. So when you have a vendor onboarding process, you do want to make sure that you're collecting all the information that you need, making sure you have an understanding of the budget, what kind of services they're going to offer to you, and have more clarity about this relationship. And make sure that this is something you're able to rinse and repeat. You don't want it to be that when someone, maybe a caterer, you go through one process with them, but then you forget to do it for like 4 other vendors. You want to make sure that each person that you're bringing on, they are going through the same process. And what I do find is that when I have a onboarding process for my vendors, they know that I run my business seriously, and I think that they even have a different perception of my company. So again, you're welcome to do whatever you choose for your business, but I do recommend you having a streamlined vendor onboarding process. The next thing that I recommend is that once you have created your onboarding process, you do want to figure out a way to maintain those relationships. I find that when you are creating a space that people don't feel as if you're working for them, or there's not a win-win relationship, or if they're not feeling as if you're in integrity, because sometimes we worry about other people being in integrity. However, we may not be in the best of integrity. So when you are wanting to get a vendor list, it's one thing to get people to sign up, but then it's also another part to actually learning how to maintain those relationships. You can think to yourself, do you want to actually have quarterly conversations or check-ins, or maybe it's annual conversations and check-ins where you're just going over what's been going well, getting feedback from them, and then you also giving them feedback to help them improve with their services. Because I find that when you're working as a team, everyone's not doing things the best, even for myself. So I love to have an opportunity for people to give me constructive criticism, and they also try to give me the space to give them constructive criticism. So when you're looking to maintain the relationship, you want to be able to have open conversation. You want to also be able to find out what they're passionate about or what they're currently working on as a project or a new service, because you may find that the DJ that you signed up to be on the vendor list, they may now do flooring. They may do uplights. They may now have a 360 photo booth or some other feature. Everyone doesn't naturally think to tell you all of the things that they've got going on, because sometimes people just assume we know and we don't know. So this is why I think it's great to be able to find out what's going on in your vendor's current business. What are some of the things they're wanting to push? Even what are their business goals? Because if they're very ambitious and you think that they're reliable, then it can actually motivate you to do things together, to grow together. Because I always say, more hands equal lighter work, but you have to have the right hands that are helping to lift the load. The third thing that I recommend for you when you are creating your vendor list is also thinking about how to protect your brand. The way that you can protect your brand can be in 3 different ways. One is through contracts. I do recommend having contracts. I find that people they view having a vendor list sometimes in a negative way because people have been burnt. However, I do find that when people have been burnt, it's because we're assuming that someone runs their business a specific way, and everyone doesn't have the same expectation on communication, arrival, or professionalism. So this is why you want to have contracts that are signed, which is a part of the onboarding process. So I always think to myself, what are the things I need to be able to have so that I'm protecting my brand by aligning with someone, but then also it creates a space where people are going into the relationship or the partnership having clarity on what is the standard for doing business with you. So I do recommend you looking into the right contracts. If you don't have contracts already, I can do video on different types of contracts for vendor partnerships. If you think that would be helpful, comment below and let me know, because I could do one. I can share what I use and why I use it. And then there might be some other ones that may even be more helpful for you inside of your business. But I do think it's great for you to have contracts to protect your business. Another thing to be present to when it comes to protecting your business, you want to be able to have clear outlines as far as what are the standards within your business. So again, like I've mentioned, I've had it where some people will show up right at when the event's supposed to start, and you're like, well, I'm on time. What are you talking about? No, again, just like how you will onboard or bring on a new team member, an employee, you have to still treat your relationships with your vendors the exact same way. So when you're protecting your business, I would also go over the do's and don'ts, so that again, you're not having any misunderstandings. You can have contracts as well, like I mentioned previously. And I feel that when you're protecting your brand and your business, it's really making sure that there's no space for assumptions, because we know what Samuel L. Jackson says about assumptions. The fourth thing, when you're going to create your vendor list, you do want to evaluate it regularly. Regularly may be different for you than it may be for me, but I would say at minimum, you want to evaluate it at least once a year to see if this is a person you want to continue to have a relationship with, or do you need to get another vendor on board because you're just having a capacity issue. I think it's good to look for vendors in advance compared to scrambling last minute, because when we're scrambling last minute, what we'll find ourselves doing is just choosing anyone because we need to have someone. So I do think it's good to have variety with specific types of service-based providers. So instead of only having one bartender, it may make sense, depending on where you are in your business, to have two bartenders or two bar service companies that you have, or having 3 DJs. Again, because if you have this vendor list, that business owner is still running their business outside of you. And what may happen is that in busy season, that vendor may be busy with other types of events. And you don't want it to be that now, because you sold that you needed to have this DJ and that this DJ is amazing, but now that DJ is already booked outside of you, now it makes you look unreliable. So I do think it's good to have variety when you're looking for vendors. So I do recommend that you, every 6 months or every year, looking at what were some of the services in which you were getting more requests of, to see, do you need to add some additional people or maybe let go of certain relationships because they haven't necessarily been the best. But when you do those reviews, I find that it takes the space out of scarcity when it comes to coordinating events. And then when you do the review, I find that it also gets me excited about something new that we can start promoting inside of our business whenever we're talking to clients. Now that I've given you the 4 different tips to be able to create your vendor list, where you do want to make sure that you're finding vendors that are up to a specific standard that is aligned with your brand. You want to have an organized way to onboard them as well. You then want to think about, how do you go about maintaining those relationships so that you grow together? And then you want to think to yourself, how do I protect my brand in this partnership? And then also always just review to see if this is still a good fit or if it's not a good fit. I hope that these tips have been helpful for you, and I look forward to creating more videos like this that can help you with growing your business. I got this idea based off of a comment on a previous video, and I think that this conversation doesn't happen enough, because I find that a good amount of event planners or industry business professionals don't always know about how to do this correctly, and then they feel as if they can't trust people and they try to do everything on their own. Trying to do everything on your own will burn you out. I've seen where people like, I do the decor, plus I do the catering, and then I do this. Like, that is very hard. I know that we may be tempted to try to do all the things so we can make all the money ourselves. In reality, it doesn't create a space for longevity in your business and brand. It doesn't matter if you're trying to have a 6-figure business or a 7-figure business. There's beauty in having great vendors so that you all are able to grow and then you are able to scale. All right, that's it for today. Peace.